Hey, it's Bernard Nomberg with the Nomberg Law Firm in Birmingham, Alabama. And I want to take a few minutes and talk about a particular document that any claimant who is seeking disability benefits through the Social Security Administration has got to fill out. And it's called a work history report. And the title or the form is commonly known as SSA-3369. And this document is one of the documents that is asked by the Social Security Administration for you to fill out so they can start looking at your claim. And when it talks about the work history, you only have to go back 15 years. You're only supposed to go back 15 years from the time of making your application. And there's certain parts of this that are important, and I'm going over the very first page. And in here, when you're filling out in section 3, job title, type of business, and the years worked, make sure that you're pretty descriptive with your job titles. If you were a working supervisor, for example, and part of your job was to supervise, but other part of your job was to also do some of the physical labor. For example, if you worked in a warehouse and you were supervising a crew, but you were a worker on that crew, don't just put supervisor. Also put another description with it, such as crew member or something like that. It's not a time for you to show how prideful you are. It's a time for you to be as explaining as much as you can so that the person reviewing your application and information gets a full picture. So that's just one example. And when you put here the type of business, that's pretty self-explanatory. And to the very best of your knowledge, put the years and months that you worked there. For example, if you worked there from February of 2008 to January of 2012, put that on there. On the second page, and the pages that follow, you'll see at the top it says Job Title 1. And each of these pages, Job Title 2, 3, 4, etc., should match up with what you've put on this first page. And when you go on to here to put how much physical activity and physical work that you did, make sure you put a range. For example, let's use the example of being a supervisor in a warehouse, but you're also part of the crew. Describe you working as a supervisor for, say, 2 hours in a given shift, and then the other 6 hours you are physically working on the crew. Make sure you break it down because you really need to be able to explain the physicalness of each job that you perform. The more physical the job, the more description you should put because that will help and aid the decision makers. And then lastly, section 3, which is page 8, but it's at the very end of this. This is for the remarks. And if you need to further to define some of the job responsibilities, lifting requirements, whatever it was that you weren't able to fully fill out when filling out each job that you had, make sure that you're descriptive on here. The more information you put on here, the better it will be for the person who is reviewing your claim. If you have questions or concerns about this process, please give us a call. This is the kind of work that we do. We handle Social Security disability applications and appeals. We can be reached at 205-930-6900. Nomberglaw.com is our website. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, we'd like to know why. Please tell us. We'd also love it if you'd consider subscribing to our YouTube channel as we add videos every day or just about every day. We also could be found on Twitter and Facebook.